I am here with another episode of Heartbrain Creative Podcast. I am talking to Laurel Lather. Is that how I pronounce it?
Lather.
Lather. Okay, I should have asked beforehand. Laurel Lather today. And I just kind of want to talk to you about what you're working on, because if some people haven't seen it, there is a cookbook that you created, and if people aren't familiar, you were the owner of the Market, which a restaurant in town, which I even got the opportunity to work at for a little bit.
Yeah.
So if I could ask maybe a little bit about the Market, about kind of when that was in business, and then kind of what led you to create the cookbook.
Okay, well, the Market was around for close to 12 years. Started off as the Market on Phillips, and when the Harvester building came available, we jumped at that opportunity to move in there, and everybody knows I've kind of moved around to different locations, but that was my heart. I mean, I just absolutely loved everything about that building and the people that were in there. So the Market, for people who didn't know, farm to table. We had some really great chefs that came in and out of the place, and loved to teach people about wine. We had 2 different sommeliers there, and we took an approach for food there where it was casual, but yet to me the food was art. So we always, as you know, we were very particular about how our cheese plates went out and how everything looked, and using me as an artist, that was my way to express my feelings, was to do it with food. And
yeah. It was very good food. I definitely enjoyed that. I think I got to learn so much about wine there. I didn't even know what a Syrah was before I started. So that was really, really fun. And everything I remember tasted so good. I think I remember the curry. That was delicious.
Yes.
Are recipes that you did out of the Market going to be in the cookbook? Is that kind of what you did, or was there something else that you kind of got inspired by?
Yes, the cookbook is kind of a memoir / cookbook, really. 158 recipes in there, but it's all about the story, just like how we planned out our wine dinners and everything. Bought ingredients and wines was because of the story behind it. And so what you'll find in there is all kinds of pictures. Photography is another one of my loves. So it's all my photography of people and food that we did. So the mac and cheese and that curry dish and all those foods that people really loved are in there.
That's really exciting. Is there something that you like? What is your favorite thing out of the cookbook? Like, what recipe would you say is probably your favorite?
Definitely the lemon chicken. Just because it was something that was way back from food and fermentation days, and I've had that recipe forever, and it's one of those one pan things where you don't dirty a lot of dishes. It's easy. It's actually kind of a healthy meal too, and just everybody loved that dish. That was the most requested when I asked on Facebook what recipes you wanted to see. That was the one.
Oh, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to get it, definitely, because there are so many recipes in there. So what would you say do you have any, like, is there a range of things? Is it just kind of more main entrees, or is it like desserts too?
No, it's definitely a range of things. There's the desserts, appetizers. I mean, just wine and food pairings, yeah, it's a wide array of dishes.
What would you say is your favorite wine pairing with a food?
Oh my goodness, there's just so many good ones. It's I guess one of my favorite, just because it's something when I write, I love to have a glass of Chardonnay and truffle popcorn. So that's my most creative wine pairing that I can do when I'm writing, and so I'll give it that.
Oh, that sounds really good. So what makes it truffle popcorn then?
Oh, I do the truffle dust instead of salt on there, and it just gives you that great flavor to it.
Oh my word, that sounds so good. So for your cookbook, you're planning on having cookbooks available at the show, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So what if someone say they're like, I don't know how to cook. I can't even use a recipe. What would you say was is the lemon chicken probably a good one to start with?
Yes, it's definitely one of the easier ones to do. And because you're only using one pan, there's minimal prep to it. It's very simple. And that was one thing when I did write this book. I wanted to make sure that it was easy. Sometimes, as a cookbook collector that I am, you get some of these recipes and the directions are 2 pages long and it just distracts you. And it's just like, oh no, this is going to be too much. So I'm very distinct to the point. This is easy. This is how you do it, and basically walk you through it. So
what would you say was probably for people who love to cook, though, what would be the more like, ooh, this one takes a really long time? Because I love to cook and I like it when you do have to, I mean, some days I don't, but when you stand there for an hour and you really pour your heart into it and you take a lot of time, what would you say is one of the more complicated recipes that you have?
I guess, and I don't know if I would call it complicated, but the one that's going to have you in the kitchen all day is my grandmother's recipe for chicken noodle. And you're cooking the bones down into this beautiful broth, and you're making your own pasta and rolling it out. It's something that's, it's an endearing recipe for me. And it was one of the first things I taught my daughter how to make. And so, getting people together, making it, spending the day together would definitely be that recipe.
It sounds like when you talk about your food, you also include, it's your grandmother's recipe, or I think you said your grandmother, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you made it with your daughter. It sounds like a family is really involved with what you do. I mean, it sounds like that's a big part of it.
It is. To me, food is not something that you just eat because you're eating. It's always been something very emotionally attached to me. And you know how I was at the market too. I called all of you my family, and you guys were my kids. And there's a definite passion and love that how food can bring people together.
For wine, if I were to go out and be like, I just need a bottle of wine right now, what would you suggest? Maybe it's something someone hasn't heard of before.
Well, I'm so out of the loop these days with the different new wines that are coming into the state. I'm kind of stuck on a lot of my favorites.
Or what's maybe something of your favorite?
This time of the year, I love my red wines. Pinot Noir is like my passion wine. It's something that I think is so complex. Every one is so different. And it's a little bit better red to drink during the hot summer months like this. So Russian River, because of that smokiness, it makes you think of the campfire. And so I get more passionate about Pinots, I think, than the Pinot Noir than most other wines.
Oh my word. Sometimes I just talk about wine a little bit. I'm like, I don't think I have any in the fridge. I don't think I have any right now. I gotta go get some.
Just a rosé in the fridge, because that's always just a easy in between light alcohol and something that you can just working out in the garden, just grab a bottle and take it out.
I know I've been craving Chardonnay for a while, and I think I have to make sure I have to get some soon, because that sounds so good. For the show, I can't wait to see the cookbooks there, especially with the photography that you have in there. That's going to be really cool to see all the pictures. Do you do, because I think in the pictures you have some like wine dinners that you did, right?
Yes. Yep.
So how does that go? Like, what's the kind of, process behind creating a wine dinner?
Well, it's really a group effort of getting everybody together and planning out a party, and just being able to, you pick one aspect of it and then you start working around. So if you know that, like I'm planning a harvester lady party that's coming up in my garden next week. So to plan this wine seafood dinner, we know that we all decided that we wanted to have seafood. So then the conversation goes into, so what wines are going to pair with that, and what desserts, and you combine all these ingredients, and all of a sudden you have this great party.
That sounds like a great time.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be this 103-degree temperatures when we have the garden party this time.
Oh yeah, it's been so ridiculously hot. But I suppose wine is a nice thing to have when it's warm.
It is.
So. Well, Laurel, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. I appreciate you letting me know about your cookbook and also a little bit about wine. It'll be really great to see you out there at the show, which is August 20 from 1 to 5 over at the Sunny's parking lot. Yes, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to being out and showing my art of the written word.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you so much.
See you soon.
Sounds good.